An early morning show of strength on a pro-democracy media group. The raid ending with the arrest of Apple Daily's editor-in-chief and 4 executives.
All of them are the directors of the company affiliates to the Apple Daily. For the offence is to collusion with the foreign countries and the external elements, endangers national security.
Officers scoured the building, looking through desks and seizing laptops and phones. The reason for the search and arrest? Beijing's controversial national security law that sparked waves of protests in 2019. It outlaws secession, subversion, terrorism and foreign collusion, and police say they have evidence it was breached in this office.
There were around 30 articles in both Chinese and English which requested foreign countries and institutions to impose sanctions on Hong Kong's Special Administrative Region, as well as on the People's Republic of China, dating back to 2019.
Another blow for the embattled newspaper founded by jailed pro-democracy media tycoon Jimmy Lai, who was arrested last August along with 10 others, including his sons. The government says journalists must operate within the sweeping law.
This action is not related to normal journalistic work. The action targets the use of journalism as a tool to endanger national security. Normal journalists are different from these people. Don't have any relations with them and keep away from them.
A direct warning to the press covering these events as China's grip on Hong Kong continues to tighten. Jordan Butler, ABC News.
Glacier Kwong was a pro-democracy activist in Hong Kong until the security law forced her to move to Europe. She joins us out of Vienna. Lovely to talk to you, Glacier. These raids were very heavy-handed. Over 200 police turned up. Just how concerning was the size of this operation?
The size of the raid is indeed very concerning, but at the same time, I think it comes as no surprise for a lot of Hong Kongers because we have been witnessing a lot of crackdowns on the media, on the freedom of speech, on the freedom of press in Hong Kong. So it feels like the raid is more like a signal in effect to warn journalists and to warn Hong Kongers not to show up on the 1st of July march, because there used to be an annual 1st of July protest that will be on the street to voice out our political concerns against the government.
Yeah, it is a very strong message, and there was obviously discussions about these types of journalists are not proper journalists and other journalists should watch out. It is a very, it's not even a halfly disguised sort of warning to journalists that anything critical of the government is not going to be tolerated.
Yes, it is indeed a signaling to a lot of journalists out there, no matter they are local journalists or expats from foreign media, because this is sending a really strong signal that if you, as a journalist, want to do your job, then you will be in trouble in Hong Kong for reporting the truth, reporting what the government is actually doing and reporting about overseas activists. So this is also an attempt to spread fear among journalists, especially when the government official deliberately and explicitly tell other journalists to distance themselves from those of Apple Daily because they are quote unquote criminals now. So it's clear that the government is trying to silence the media and try to implement fear in their hearts so that they will comply to self-censorship and state censorship in general.
Yeah. In contravention of the national security law, these are the accusations, but they date back in some instances to 2019, which they always said they would not look at issues that predated this law. So here again, they are not sticking to their own rules.
No, they are never sticking to their own rules, to be honest. At the very beginning of passing this so-called national security law, they said it would be only targeting limited individuals. But now we are having over 100 people being arrested under this law, and they have been put under custody before conviction. The longest one have been in jail for almost a year now without actually being convicted. So this law is not a law as we know it in the common law system. This law is a tool for them to crack down on activists, on democratic movements, in the society, so that they can do whatever they want, because it grants the police so much power and so much arbitrary power without check and balance. So this is actually a tool for them to tighten their grip over Hong Kong.
Yeah. You talk about the annual July 1st protest march. Is that going to go ahead? Is it wise to be going ahead with that at this point?
In my position, because I'm not in Hong Kong, I'm in no position to encourage anyone to go or not go because I am not on the ground. It's very irresponsible for me to say anything like that. But I would love to bring all of your attention back on the 4th of June. When the annual June 4th Virgil was being banned, there were actually a lot of people, around 5,000 people still around the area of the Victoria Park, holding candles or holding phone flashlights in memory of those who suffered and died. So I am quite certain that there will be some sort of political movement that would be quite visible in Hong Kong, but I'm not sure how many people will turn up. But hopefully Hong Kong people will not give up on resisting against China, no matter if they are going on the street or not, because resistance should be an everyday life, not just on specific dates right now.
But it's becoming a very dangerous thing to do from within Hong Kong. Do you get the sense that that whole pushback movement is going to have to go offshore, like people like yourselves continuing to speak out?
I'd say it's obviously very difficult and very dangerous to do activism in Hong Kong or voice out their political opinions. Like, you were risking years behind bars for just attending peaceful assemblies or peaceful rallies. So basically, it's very difficult and dangerous for everyone in Hong Kong to do that. But I think as an activist in self-imposed exile, of course, it's my duty to speak up for Hong Kong and to tell the story of Hong Kong. But I'm not going to say the activism itself can shift offshore, because it's ultimately about having the chance to go back to Hong Kong. So everything activists overseas are doing are for the sake that we can one day return to Hong Kong safely. So it's about having Hong Kong as Hong Kong again as we know it before. So it's more about how do we work together with those who are still in Hong Kong, and how do we tell the story to gain more international support from the outside world.
Glacier, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.